I'm Keon.
And this is Inevitable, that podcast where we're just here to kill some people and then get out, because this week we watched Heart of Gold.
Written by Brett Matthews.
Directed by Thomas J. Wright.
And originally aired on the Sci-Fi Channel on August 19th, 2003. So, obviously sort of, maybe not obviously, but like the last of the 3 episodes that didn't originally air when Firefly was originally broadcast on Fox.
Yeah, we're coming pretty rapidly to the end of Firefly here.
Yeah, I know it's not really sinking into me. Like, we have 2 weeks left, but it doesn't feel like it's almost over. Maybe that's just like down to the episodic nature of the show. This doesn't really feel like the second to last episode any more than really any of the previous episodes may have. Like, it's just another adventure.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, every week is just another day in the life, is what I'm trying to say. A slice of life, you know?
This was one of the most, like, I think out of all the episodes of Firefly, I remembered this one the most from my initial watch of the show 7 years ago.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but it really stuck out to me.
Very interesting. I wonder why that is.
Maybe it was the deep advancement of Mal and Inara's relationship and the bombshell that the episode ends on of Inara.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush here of Inara claiming that she's going to leave Serenity.
Yeah, right, Inara. I'll believe it when I see it.
If memory serves, she's in Serenity, the movie. So
she is, but although I think if memory serves, she's not on Serenity. Like, they find her during the movie. They seek her out.
Okay, so she does leave. She does follow through on her promise to leave, as she claims she's going to do in this episode. For some reason, I was under the impression that she just doesn't leave.
I think she does. Because, like I said, my memory of Serenity is that they like have to seek her out to find her. But, we're going to be there in 2 weeks, so there's no real reason to sit here and postulate about it that much when we're going to find out exactly what's up very soon anyway,
Right. Maybe this show should have... Maybe, like, the initial concept for this show should have been, like, watch these sci-fi series but pretend we're in the year that they aired on their original airing. Would be incredibly difficult because we've watched like stuff from the 60s when neither of us was alive.
Great.
Also, it would be incredibly difficult to change your speech patterns to match what people sounded like at the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent, but my roommate was watching Seinfeld earlier, and I always assumed that, like, the phrase, like, yeah, I'm down, was like a very recent thing, but the episode of Seinfeld that my roommate was watching, like, someone asks Kramer if he wants to do something, goes, yeah, I'm down. So I guess that phrase has been around a lot longer than I thought. Or at least has been in the common vernacular a lot longer than I thought. Obviously, the phrase has existed for a long time, but anyway.
Yeah, it's like those... I don't know if these are real or not. Probably not, but it's like... sometimes you'll see them online or whatever if they go viral. It's like those like letters from the 1800s and 1700s that include like LOL or stuff like that.
LOL.
It's the first time anyone said LOL since 2004 instead of LOL.
LOL. Yeah, well, this, okay, so I wanted to talk about Thomas J. Wright for a hot second, I guess because we do this thing where we just drop, like, fun information about the directors and stuff. Thomas J. Wright hasn't directed an episode of Firefly before this, and doesn't after this. This is his one and only contribution to the show, but he's directed a lot of American TV shows, actually. And he's still working, actually, most recently on Supernatural and NCIS, but still working, doing TV shows. He's also worked as a second unit director on some movies like Howard the Duck and Beverly Hills Cop.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess as we, like you said, as we always seem to do, as an unspoken rule now, although I guess we've spoken it a couple times, but like, yeah, I looked up a bit about Brett Matthews, the writer for this episode. He has worked on shows such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, basically he's like part of the Joss Whedon crew.
The Joss Whedon crew.
According to Wikipedia here, and they're only sourcing, I tried to look up the source for this, but they're sourcing IMDb, so there's really no more information about this. He was an assistant to Joss Whedon. I don't know what that means. Like, was he just getting Joss Whedon's coffee, or was he like, what was his role as assistant? I don't know. And the source for this bit of information on Wikipedia also doesn't tell me because it's IMDb. And there's an interview here. I don't know why I'm really trying to do my homework on this. But there's an interview here.
You're just really invested in this for some reason. I
want to know. It's like, I click this interview, and it's just 404, so it's not even around anymore.
Curses.
Yeah.
I guess you could shove it into the Internet, the Wayback Machine, and see if it's been indexed somewhere.
Yeah, maybe I will for the show notes. I'm not going to take the time to do it right now.
How dare you? You were doing your homework, and now you're dropping the ball live on air.
Now I'm prompting us to move ahead with the episode instead of dwelling on this tiny tidbit of information.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm quite frankly affronted, good sir.
It's pretty interesting. I just thought of this right now, so bear with me here. It's pretty, and I'm changing gears completely. It's pretty interesting that Gold, the episode of Blake 7, check out Zenith, the Blake 7 podcast, is like the one heist episode of Blake 7, whereas the first non-heist episode in a while of Firefly is Heart of Gold.
Yeah, I guess that is interesting in like the bare minimum amount of ways that you could consider something interesting.
Yep.
Thanks for that just simply revelatory piece of information. I'm really quite speechless. This episode actually opens in my first note is, okay, so this opens exactly the same way that Once Upon a Time in the West does. I don't know if you, Keon, remember how Once Upon a Time in the West opens, but we watched it for Triple Play at one point, and that movie opens with, there's that farmstead that looks to be pretty much in the exact same location as the one in this episode. There's that farmstead, and Henry Fonda and his gang roll up, and then he like murders the kid or whatever. And that's like the first thing you see in the movie.
Or
I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah. Well, wait. Is that the first scene, or is the first scene? I thought that was a little bit after, because the first scene is the one where they're at that like abandoned train depot.
I thought that came after he rolled up and killed the kid. But you know what? I'm just going to open
yeah,
on Wikipedia.
I can't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it does open with the train station, like you said, and then there's the scene where he goes and kills the kid. But it's close enough. It's the first time we see Frank, the villain of the movie.
Wait.
Throwback.
Oh, okay, yeah, Frank, all right. Yeah, the first scene of that movie is interesting because it uses the diegetic sound of the movie to, like, kind of play the theme.
Yeah, because the main character of that movie plays the harmonica, and the like theme of the movie is on a harmonica. So the unnamed protagonist of the movie dubbed Harmonica Man or Man with Harmonica plays the theme of the music of the movie on his harmonica.
Yeah, they're also Ennio Morricone only really composed 2 different themes for the entire movie. They're just arranged differently throughout the entire movie. I don't know if you noticed that or knew that.
Yeah.
Whatever, that has nothing to do with Firefly. Anyway, yeah, it begins with sort of... This is the most Western Firefly episode, though. Like, kind of by far.
Yeah, this is... It really, really... how do I want to say this? It really leans into the tropes of the genre that it's playing with here. Both with this and the just cribbing most of the plot from another Western movie, as we're going to talk about very soon. But basically this, at present unnamed, but shortly to be named man rides up to this house and basically threatens the woman living there because apparently one of them is allegedly carrying what might be his kid. Man, the amount of qualifiers in that sentence was insane. But anyway, he takes a blood sample from... I guess the way this piece of technology works is that it extracts a blood sample from the baby inside the girl's belly. So he does that.
Yeah. So this is actually funny because when he first pulls up with his posse, ready to cause some trouble, Nandy, who is the proprietor of this whorehouse, we don't know that it's a whorehouse yet, but we're soon to learn. Or I think it's actually indicated through the dialogue in this scene. But she just lies through her teeth, straight face. She's like, Petalene, not here. She left ages ago. And then 2 seconds later, Rance's men are seen dragging her out of the front door.
Yeah, nice job trying to cover that up, but that didn't work out so hot.
Great job
for you.
lying, poor job hiding.
Yeah. That would be the title of this episode if we titled these episodes, but we don't. So
anyway, yeah, he takes the blood sample in what I assume you described the mechanisms behind this prop, or tried to, because it looks like he just stabs her in the stomach.
He just kills the baby right there. He's like, okay, my job is done.
It is actually interesting, I thought, that Rance wants the baby. Usually you'd think if because we learn in a bit that Rance Burgess is he's the head honcho in this town. He's sort of a real big shot. And usually you'd think okay, he got a prostitute pregnant. He wants to hide that fact. He doesn't want anything to do with the child, yada, yada, yada. But it's actually the opposite. He wants the child.
Yes.
We learn in just a minute because it's because his wife is either infertile or they just weren't able to have a child. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, but yeah, we find out that he wants a child. I guess it's sort of almost like a right of succession type thing where he wants a child, but his wife is not bearing him a child.
Right.
So.
And it's when you put it that way, it's kind of interesting that he is sort of taking this monarchical approach. He's sort of the leader in town, unfortunately for everyone else.
Unfortunately for everybody stuck with him.
Mm-hmm. He's sort of the leader, and you get the idea that he wants this child to so that his bloodline will continue leading or something like that. It's not ever explicitly stated, and maybe it's not the case, but it's it makes sort of sense. Whereas our main characters, take a more democratic approach to things, a more flat team structure, you might say, to borrow from Yaz's phrase book on Doctor Who and the Doctors. Check out Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast.
A very topical reference you just made.
Why? Because a new episode of Doctor Who aired today, the day that we are recording this. Just a couple hours ago.
November the 28th.
I think it aired like 2.5 hours ago. Something like that.
Yeah, I believe so. Can't wait to load up the best streaming service of all time to watch it here in the U.S.
Dylan is, of course, referring to AMC Plus.
A streaming service I actually, did not know existed before this season of Doctor Who started. So that's how you know it's a quality streaming service.
Is AMC, the channel and streaming service, related to AMC Theaters? Are they the same people?
No, I think they're unrelated. But I think BBC America... BBC America and AMC, the channel, are both owned by the same parent company.
That being the BBC? Is that what it...
No, BBC America is not actually owned by the BBC, if I remember correctly. It's only co-owned by the BBC. Yeah, BBC America is an American basic cable network jointly owned by BBC Studios and AMC Networks.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so... Maybe
that's why AMC Plus really hypes up British shows in their ads.
Yeah. Yeah, we're paying for AMC Plus, and we still get some ads that but they're not very long. They're like 30 seconds, and they're just ads for AMC Plus, which is weird.
Yeah, you already own the service, so yeah. Seems like a waste of ad space, but hey, whatever. But basically the gist of most of the ads on the service are so you want the good stuff, the British stuff.
You're like, yeah, I guess. I guess.
We do awkwardly make fun of those ads and be like, yeah, I mean, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But, when you think about it, we did, you subscribed and we're both paying for AMC Plus with the intention of watching British shows, a British show, I should say. I also haven't paid for it yet. I still owe you however much it is, $2.50 or something. Ridiculously cheap service.
I think it's, something like that. It's $7, $5. I don't know, a month.
Sucker you in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Firefly Heart of Gold.
Yeah. Firefly Heart of Gold. So the title sequence happens after this guy shows up to get this blood sample, and I want to mention before we get too far away from this sort of intro scene is that the last time on Firefly scenes are all about relationship stuff. I know you don't get those on the Blu-ray, Keon, so I guess I'll just explain briefly. But we got a bunch of scenes of when Simon and River were flirting in Janestown. We get scenes of Wash and Zoe's relationship from War Stories.
Simon and Kaylee, right?
Sorry, Simon and Kaylee. Sorry.
Was there some?
I make that mistake every week, so I don't even know why you're shocked at this point.
Yeah, but I'm shocked at this point because you're yeah, Simon and River were flirting. And I was like, wait, I missed an incestuous flirting scene. What?
I mean, I made a very similar slip last week when I was talking about Simon and Kaylee. So even that, it shouldn't be that shocking. Okay, anyway, and then we also get some scenes of Mal and Inara's will they, won't they relationship from, I don't remember what episode the scenes are from. I think from that one where Mal gets into that duel.
Shindig,
thank you. Yeah, so all of the last time on scenes are
the place where Mal got into that duel and the place where they bury Nandi. The same damn grove. Sure looks like it, at least.
It might very well be.
I think it was, like, from a behind-the-scenes perspective, I'm pretty sure it was. I don't think it's supposed to be in-universe, but yeah.
No, I kind of think in universe it's not.
Yeah, I think in universe they're like on the other side of the solar system, probably. The verse, I should say.
Yeah, the verse. Come on, Keon. The other side of the verse. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, we cut to Serenity, and Inara is once again chastising Mal for being a petty criminal and like not really doing anything to improve the world.
She's like,
the verse.
she walks into the kitchen on him, like cleaning and preparing his guns, and she makes some like, she's not like actually upset about it. She just kind of makes some sly, snide comments about his career and his usage of the guns. And he makes, he has his, usual Mal-like comebacks. They're not very good, but then they get a distress signal. And surprisingly enough, it's not for anyone but Inara.
Yeah, so Wash pops in. He's like, "Hey, boss, we got a distress signal." And the boss, being Mal, is like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go help people." And then Wash is like, "Well, actually, it's for Inara." He's like, "What?"
It turns out it's Nandi, her former companion friend, who at this point in the episode we get a hint that she kind of struck out on her own and is no longer a companion. And a few minutes later, Mal, in a discussion with Inara, is able to like bring out information that confirms this, because Inara, kind of explains that Nandi, is no longer a companion. She's just the proprietress, whatever, of this whorehouse out in kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I guess we should mention there's going to be some crass language in this episode, because whorehouse is the word they use in the episode. We should make it clear, I guess. Because, Mal's like, "Oh, one of your friends needs help." Like, "No worries, I'll help you guys out." And she's like, they're not companions, right? They don't have a lot of money. And he's like, "You don't need to pay me." She's like, they're whores, right? And he's like, "I don't care. You don't need to pay me."
You hear Jane from the other side of the ship, "Sign me up."
Well, yeah, it's actually this is the first time Firefly has gotten like a verbal like chortle out of me. It is when like Mal is talking to the crew and he's like, "All right, we're gonna go help these ladies and men out, because there are men there as well." He's like, "We're gonna go help them out. We're just gonna do the job, and we're not gonna get paid. And if you guys like don't want to get involved, you can just stay here. You don't have to come down with me." And Jane's like, well, hang on now. Like, maybe we should get paid. And then Inara's like, "They're whores." And he's like, "You know what? I'm in."
Yeah. And the idea is like he doesn't want anything to do with it. He's like, "Count me out. Forget this. I'm just going to stay here." And then, yeah. And then you see a scene, or a shot rather, of the Serenity crew just sort of walking towards the house, less ominously than Rance Burgess and his gang did, obviously. But it's like, I don't know if this stuck out to you in this scene, but like, what the hell was Jane wearing in the scene where they first show up? Like, just what?
What the hell were any of them wearing? But Jane specifically, yeah.
He had,
I don't know, man. I can't help you.
He had like a pinstripe shirt with like what are those tie? Like it's like a bolo tie or something. What are those like string tie things?
Yeah, it's called a bolo tie.
And like a cowboy hat, which I guess isn't honestly that weird of an ensemble. It's just like a very Western thing to wear.
He's just getting in touch with his Western roots, okay? He's getting in touch with his Western roots. Wash is once again wearing his Wish.com tactical vest in this episode. Another topical reference, because on Doctor Who, somebody discovered that you can buy the villains from this season's mask, the passenger forms, just like on Wish.com for like $5.
Anyway, they show up. They're introduced to the to the whores.
Yeah. Again, we should mention that's the word they used in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to have to tag this one explicit.
Yes. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because that's what they call. That's what they are. And so everyone has their own sort of job to do. Shepherd Book, for some reason, is like frantically making a sandwich. I don't know if you noticed this.
He's like,
yeah, he's very intent on making this sandwich very quickly. Simon, meanwhile, is going to go deliver the baby, despite having zero experience doing so.
No, he has experience, just not as the primary doctor, was his point.
No, that's not how I took it. I took it as like, he has no experience whatsoever.
Well, I mean, his exact line, and you can check the transcript if you don't believe me, is, "This is my first as primary."
No, he says it as like a question. He goes, because Inara asks, we'll get there in a minute, but it's like, well, not in a minute, in a bit, but it's like, Inara asks, like, how many babies have you actually delivered? And he's like, as primary, like sweating, pulling at his collar. She's like, yeah, as primary. He's like, 0. To me, the tone,
that seems pretty clear.
Well, to me, the tone and like the setting of that scene insinuate that he has 0 experience whatsoever. But whatever.
That seems pretty clear to me that he only doesn't have experience as primary. That he has other experience. No, it seems pretty clear to me that that's what he's saying.
All right. Well, more power to you.
Well, the Shepherd Book, the reason why he's so frantically trying to make this sandwich is because all of the prostitutes are like, "Hey, Shepherd, you looking for anything?" He's like, "No, I'm a man of God." And they're like, "Well, could you maybe read us something from that book of yours then?" Because the last shepherd that came through only read one passage, and then I think they imply that the previous shepherd, took advantage of the local produce, so to speak, the local product. And Shepherd Book looks distressed at this, that another man of God gave up his vow.
Yeah, but it's been a while since they've had anyone, read from the Bible or anything like that. So, he sort of plays that role here. Meanwhile, Kaylee is just being weird as hell. She's just being weird, just forget exactly what she is like concerned about, and that's exactly the point, is like, what the hell is she actually concerned about here? Like, why is she so passively angry at everything?
I think she's just insecure that Simon... She's insecure about Simon because Simon said something like, "Well, I'm going to go check out the woman," meaning that he's going to go check out the pregnant woman, singular. But Kaylee, I guess, takes that as like... Yeah, Kaylee says something like, "Man, I wish somebody was checking me out." Because she very clearly, when she makes this initial statement, clearly takes the exact words that Simon says and says like, "Man, I wish somebody would do that to me." And then Wash is like, "Well, that's okay. There are men here too. There are men prostitutes here as well. It's an equal opportunity joint." And she's like, "Wash, am I pretty?" And he's like, "If I were unmarried, I would take you in a manly fashion." She's like, "Because I'm pretty?" And he's like, "Yeah, because you're pretty." Yep, that's the events. Like, it's just so weird. That was probably the most awkward scene from the episode, maybe the entire show. Anyway, Mal and Zoe and Inara go to discuss with Nandi. They go to come up with a plan.
Nandy sort of explains what we kind of already have. Rance Burgess is the head honcho in town. His wife couldn't get pregnant, so from Nandy's point of view, and really from, sort of a third party point of view, he basically just used them to have a child.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mal asks, like, is there actually a chance that child belongs to Ranch Burgess? And she says, well, Parnella...
Pedaline.
Sorry, Pedaline, excuse me. Took many lovers, but was partial to Ranch Burgess, so... At least, she implies that at least 50% of her meetings were with Ranch Burgess, so it's quite likely that this child does belong to him.
Yeah, well...
Not belong, sorry. This child is related to him.
She says, like... She says, like, as far as I'm concerned, it belongs to Pedaline. Which, given who Rance Burgess is understandable.
Yeah, I mean, like... Ranch Burgess is, like, not a good guy. He's actually a pretty bad guy, so...
Mal and Inara then go to scope out the opposition. They show up at, like, a little party in town. Mal's tie is, like, completely crooked / almost backwards, it looks like.
It looks like he's wearing the same outfit from Shindig.
Yeah, it probably is.
His one and only like good tie.
Yeah, doesn't even know how to tie it properly. I guess I'm not one to talk. I don't even know how to tie a tie either, so.
I know how to tie a tie. Come on, Keon. SMH.
I've only worn a tie like twice in my life.
SMH. SMH.
That's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. If I never have to wear a tie, I'll be happy about that.
Well, all right then.
Actually, let me put it this way. I'll probably, try and stay away from situations in which I would have to or be expected to wear a tie. But anyway.
Yeah, that's
Mal
fair.
and Rance have this sort of suggestive conversation, suggestive of their impending feud, that is.
Yeah, because Mal wants to meet Ranch Burgess before he gets involved in this whole thing. He wants to know what he's up against. And what he's up against is basically the entire town, as he discovers when he meets Ranch Burgess. He's like, wait, I don't know. I don't know if this is what I want to get involved in.
Yeah, real quick, it was Rance. Rance. CE or Rance or whatever.
Definitely thought they were saying ranch the whole
like
episode,
the
but, in an American accent.
Or the the establishment.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's Rance apparently.
Huh? Yeah. No. Really thought they were saying
kind
like
of an on
ranch.
the nose name for like a Western themed episode of a Western themed show.
Well, that's why I was like, huh, weird. I mean, yeah.
Well, Mal walks out of the party and he's like, all right, let's get going. And by let's get going, I mean let's hightail it out of here and leave.
Yeah, let's GTFO. Let's get the hell out of Dodge.
Then after the commercial break, because there is a commercial break that's sort of used as a cliffhanger, Mal shows back up. Nandy has gathered her employees. And Mal's like, all right, so we're going to leave. We're all going to leave. All of us.
Well, he says we're going to leave, and Nandi is like, well, you guys can go. I understand. It's not your fight. And he goes, no, I don't think you do understand. I mean, all of us are gonna leave. And she's like, we can't do that. I've built this house up from the dirt with my very hands. You can't take us now. We can't leave now.
I molded it from my own tin foil.
And he's like, well, I guess we can hang around and try to defend this place, but it seems like a bad idea. But if anybody again wants to leave, you can just go in Serenity and wait it out, and no one wants to leave. And he's like, so... Shepard Book comes in with his one-liner for the episode. You know, he comes in and Mal's like, Shepard, you want to help us out? And he's like, I'm pretty good with a hammer. And at first they thought, are you just going to murder people with a hammer? Like, is that your weapon of choice here, Shepard? But then he reveals that he actually means like literally building things. And he's, you know, he has the killer one-liner, I've been following the steps of a carpenter my whole life. I think I've picked up a few things.
God, just the tone of voice you said that in. It's pretty good.
I know, I was going to say, the way he delivers it in the episode is not as ominous as the way I delivered it, but I kind of wish it was.
It is, well, it's not ominous, but it is another layer of the Shepard Book mystery. Like, who is this guy? Like, he has carpenter training. He seems pretty adept, you know, speaking of his weapon of choice, he seems pretty adept hosing people to the ground.
Yeah, throwback to the Bible says don't kill people, but it doesn't say anything about the kneecaps.
It doesn't say anything about severely maiming people for life.
The Bible doesn't say anything about not making people have a lower quality of life for the rest of their life. It doesn't say anything about making their lives miserable for the next 20 years.
God, the fanfics write themselves. That actually could be, now that I'm kind of thinking myself into this, not really talking myself into it, but thinking, it's like, it could be a pretty fun experience writing an all-out Shepard Book fanfic where he just is this person that we have somehow made him out to be. Give him all the one-liners in the book, you know. Really up the absurdity of the situation, you know, crank it up to 11.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Anyway, just as they all had jobs when they arrived on the scene, they now all have jobs as they're getting ready for Rance Burgess to make his attack. Oh, and we should mention that the reason why Mal wanted them all to leave with them is because he, in his view, and he's probably right about this, or at least that's what the episode makes it out to be, like, Rance Burgess will never give up. So even if they repel him once, he's just going to come back again and again and again. No one will be able to stop him. Which is why Mal says that they need to get out. But, like we already explained, Nandi doesn't want to do so.
Yeah, again, Nandi is... So this actually, yeah, this kind of ties into something that Inara says later that I was going to save for later, but I will just like briefly mention it here that Inara says, hang on, I have the quote, like, you know, when you put down with people, the same people for that long, and you have that much love for each other, like, you start to draw strength from that love and that those roots that you've put down, and you can't break away from that. You don't want to. That's an exact quote. And that's kind of at play here with Nandi not wanting to leave this place, you know. And
there's that line is interesting. I'm glad you brought it up because there's a twist to it, right? When Inara says that, is like that's her sort of twist, is like, is that for her it's like it's time to give it up type thing.
Yeah, so so in this scene, it's like this scene or these scenes of Nandi not wanting to leave are like playing that quote perfectly straight, and like that's exactly what it means word for word. But then, yeah, like you said, when Inara says it later, she kind of puts a little bit of a twist on it. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, they don't want to leave, and they start to pull a Home Alone / Magnificent Seven and bolstering up the town.
Well, one other thing happens in the scene where they're fortifying their spirits before they fortify their house physically, is that River says her like basically one line in this episode. I forgot she even existed until I think she hadn't even appeared on screen before this moment. She goes, "It's starting," and she's referring to the baby. She's referring to Pedaline going into labor, which happens. So as the shootout is going on, Pedaline is giving birth. This is in just a little bit. But yeah, they're getting the house ready. They're getting everything fortified, bolting the windows, locking the doors.
Hide your wife.
To reference that,
is it actually 15 years old? I don't think so.
I think it's at least.
That's
I think it's at
probably
least
true.
10 years old.
Well, yeah. So they bolt everything up. They've got a plan. They've got a plan basically where Wash and Kaylee are gonna fly overhead with the with Serenity when they attack to heat them all up and make it unbearable for them to continue.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought they were just gonna like provide cover fire.
No, they were supposed to take Serenity and fly overhead to roast some people.
Well, that plan goes completely awry pretty soon.
I think you mean Ori.
Yeah, Ori. We actually get a scene between Zoe and Wash as they're setting things up. It looks like they're setting up some little, like, I don't know, ninja-esque spike traps. So, some caltrops, whatever you might want to call them. Whatever they actually are called. And Zoe makes the surprising, to me, comment that she actually wants a child herself.
Well, it's
And
surprising
Wash is
to
like,
the
well,
audience.
Yeah, for sure. And Wash is like, well, no.
No. They clearly had this discussion before. Wash says, the time, it just isn't right. And she's like, the time is never right. And he's like, yeah, because we're always in danger. And he's like, it's not my fault that the excuse continues to be relevant.
I forget what she says in response to this, but it's like, it's a pretty good comeback. If I remember correctly, I don't remember exactly what it was, though, unfortunately.
I don't know. She wants that baby.
Yeah, she basically just says, like, we're going to have a child whether you like it or not.
He's like, oh, okay. All right. Sure, I guess.
Obvious bait for a season 2 that never happened.
Yeah, obvious bait is obvious.
It's like, this makes perfect sense to me, actually, because it's like the episode, hang on, I'm going to remember what it is in a second, and by remember, I mean read. War Stories.
Could have told you that, but continue.
In War Stories, the friction between Wash and Zoe was maybe not solved, but it was like dealt with in a way, which is that Wash was incredibly jealous and insecure about Mal. So now this is sort of setting up what maybe could have been another sort of source of conflict and marital strife between Wash and Zoe for a potential season 2.
Yeah. The introduction of a child.
I mean, I could definitely see some episodes where there's like a baby on Serenity and they have to protect the baby, or the baby gets kidnapped, or she's held hostage, yada, 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 whatever, Can't believe I said yada, yada, yada twice in a single episode. I haven't said that in maybe 10 years or more. Maybe not ever. I don't think I've ever said it until the past hour. It's kind of like how I have only eaten bacon once or twice in my life before the last month when I just ate it 5 times.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the assault begins.
Yeah, Rance Burgess actually gets advance notice of the fact that he is going to be taken by surprise when he arrives at the house, because one of Nandy's people, by name of Sherry or Cherry, spelled Chari, sells out her friends / coworkers and gives Rance all the information he could possibly want. In return, it's not directly stated, but it's pretty heavily insinuated that he rapes / actually, yeah, there is no / just rapes her.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he makes her get on her knees in front of the whole crowd, Kind of figured, all right, so he's going to get a blowjob right in front of this whole crowd. All right, I guess. Kind of weird for the crowd to stick around for this.
Well, the mob that he incites, this is, I guess, what our intro was referring to, but the mob that he incites is the least energetic mob ever to be. They just seem like they don't care whatsoever about his cause, if you can even call it a cause. It seems like they're just kind of bumming people around.
Yeah.
Or because they have nothing better to do.
Probably that one.
Yeah, it's probably the latter. And they're similarly apathetic, as you mentioned, towards just public sex acts. They're just yeah, whatever. This it's kind of weird, but
yeah, woo. The guy in the back, go Rams!
Wow. It actually, I know she sells out her people and all, but Cherry's role in all this is to be raped and then subsequently murdered execution style by a person she used to call an acquaintance / coworker. Sucks. But that's Wednesdays for you. I'm just kidding.
That's Wednesdays for you? Yeah, just because I don't know, probably shouldn't have sold her friends out. That doesn't mean that she should get raped and murdered for it. But, just kind of underscoring the fact that Rance is not a good guy.
I can also see, based on this episode, just another hint of why people very misguidedly and kind of naively called Joss Whedon a feminist. Because he obviously Joss Whedon didn't write this episode, but this episode is very clearly making this misogynistic guy sort of an irredeemable villain.
Mm-hmm.
Which just goes to show you, people aren't the episodes that they write or the show that they create, right?
Yeah, the episodes don't represent them. What the episode is saying is also maybe not necessarily what they're saying,
right? Anyway, speaking of saying things, all dialogue goes out the window when Rance shows up. It just turns into a big shootout. But actually, we forgot one of the most important parts of the episode, which is Mal and Nandy. Since you're giving this one an explicit tag anyway, fucking.
Wow, just going all in on it. All right. Yeah. All right. Fuck it. Why not? Well, there's a scene. Look, you make it sound so much more crass than it actually is, because there's a scene before this happens where Mal and Nandi are talking, and Nandi's like, "I can tell you have feelings for Inara," and Mal's like, "What? Well, yeah, I have feelings. She pays me. I give her my shuttle. Those are feelings." And Nandi's like, "No, you have feelings.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true."
He's like, "What? How dare you use the Sith ways against me?"
Anyway, they start pretty heavily, not really flirting, but just conversing in a way that is inevitably going to lead to something more, I guess.
To sex. To making love.
Which they do. And
yeah, they. So it's the night before the attack. We should mention. They know the attack is coming tomorrow,
and they're all sort of, except for Simon, who's delivering the baby. They're all sort of, reaffirming their. I guess their both their relationships and their sort of mindsets. Jane has actually really befriended this one prostitute. They sort of form this close bond, seemingly.
Well, she's the first one that he, I don't know, picked out. It's not really the term I want to use, but she's the one that he focused in on when he got there and was like, "Oh, heck yeah, whorehouse."
Shepherd Book is asked by a couple of the workers, like, "So if we die, will you I forget what exactly they say, like, will you be at our funerals and stuff like that?" And he's like, no one's gonna die tomorrow. No.
Cut to Jane talking to this girl and him going, "People are gonna die, and I need you to be able to keep your head."
So she's sort of, he asks her to to serve as his backup, basically hand him guns and stuff like that.
And she's like, "Okay."
So anyway, the next morning, before the attack, Inara walks in on Mal, and not actively having sex with Nandi, but it's pretty clear that they did. And she goes like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with this. Like, why wouldn't I be?" And Mal's like, "I didn't even ask."
I didn't even ask if you were okay with it. She's like, "Oh, I'm fine.
That's a bit of an exaggeration because Mal is similarly awkward about the situation. I think in the back of his mind, he kind of knows that Inara is upset about it, but he doesn't want to kind of bring that to the forefront. And in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, Inara's probably pretty upset about this. I didn't realize how upset, because the next scene is her just weeping, huddled into a corner.
Yeah.
I guess the idea, I'm not entirely sure, but I guess the idea is that up until now, Inara has always been able to write off Mal's flippant attitude towards her as he's somewhat interested in her, but at the end of the day, he doesn't want to be in a relationship with a companion. I feel like that's kind of always what she maybe told herself, but then when he sleeps with Nandi, it's okay then. That was my interpretation.
Yeah, I think when he sleeps with Nandi, she kind of realizes well, shoot. Well, I guess we have an explicit tag. Well, shit. If I had just told Mal my feelings for him, then maybe we could have done something. She was basically looking for excuses not to pursue this relationship with Mal, and I think one of them that she told herself was, yeah, what you said, Mal would never get in a relationship with a companion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Tugs at the old heartstrings a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Does it?
Yep.
Does it?
Not that much. It's not I'm sitting here weeping in a corner. But yeah, a little bit.
Well, all right.
I want to know what Inara's backstory is. We kind of get not too much, but we get a little bit of why Mal is so incapable of forming connections that seem even slightly human or that exist beyond a business level. But like, what's Inara's story? She's obviously a very expert companion, skilled companion, but at the same time, the scenes that we get of her being a companion are actually very similar to Mal taking his role as a captain like pretty deathly seriously. It's like she takes her role as a companion pretty deathly seriously, like you know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean she takes pride in her work.
Yeah, it's
like Mal
right.
does.
It's business for her, 100%. I guess, which is
all the way.
which I guess is why the two clash so much. But like, what's her story? Is like, why is she so socially inept? You know. Guess we'll never find out because there's no season 2.
Wow, you're really ragging on them on for that.
Damn you, Fox! Anyway, then, yeah, like we mentioned, Rance Burgess shows up. They get into a firefight immediately. Or in the case of Book, a water fight, because as we mentioned, he's just hosing fools down. Jane's shooting out of the second story window. Zoe is right on the front lines, so to speak. It actually is incredibly brave of Shepherd Book to like go toe to toe with guys riding horses and carrying guns, and he's on foot, and he just has like a pretty, it's pretty big, but like still just a fire hose.
I mean, we all know Shepherd Book is an absolute madman.
Yeah, and that's why he's the most appealing Firefly character.
And that's why we love him.
I actually found out a week or two ago that Ron Glass is actually dead. He died in 2016.
You found this out when you looked him up to link the show note about your dream about him. You were like, damn, he's actually dead. I kind of feel like we mentioned that on the podcast in a very early episode.
Oh, did we? I must have forgotten then.
I had forgotten too, so... But now that I've read it and I've seen it, I have this memory.
It kind of sent a chill up my spine when I was like, man, I was dreaming about a dead guy. Like, yeah.
If no one forgets you, are you really dead?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go with yes.
Okay.
Maybe the idea is and the sort of the legacy you leave behind is a way of overcoming that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why our legacy is recorded on in audio format and made public to the internet at large.
Awesome. We'll never die. Because our podcast will live on forever.
I mean, as long as the current state of the internet like stays up, our podcasts, weirdly enough and morbid as it is to think about this, will outlive us. Similar to how we're watching Firefly after the passing of Ron Glass, there may be people out there listening to this when we're already dead.
Yeah, that's very true and very possible. We're leaving a legacy behind.
Whether that legacy is worthwhile or not is another story entirely.
And is something that we cannot decide. You know, we can't decide if our legacy is going to be
it's true.
Good or bad.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if this is true or not, but I always heard that like Milton, you know, the writer of Paradise Lost, and like the poet Milton, like his goal with Paradise Lost was like he was always like, yeah, I'm gonna write like this national epic of Britain, of England. I'm gonna do it. Like, guys, I'm gonna write our national epic. And then like he hit like 50 or 60. He's like, oh god, I haven't done it yet. Oh no. So he very consciously, in that sense, decided on his own legacy. But I guess if it hadn't been passed down in history, like if it came out, Paradise Lost came out, and people were like, man, this sucks, then it would have just been forgotten, I guess. Damn, you're right.
Damn you, Dylan. Cannot believe it. You were right. I know.
Anyway, Cherry even further betrays her people by letting Rance in the back door, basically.
Thanks, Rance. Thanks, Cherry. The baby has apparently taken all night. The labor has taken all night and is just coming out now, conveniently at the exact moment Rance comes into the building. How's that for dramatic timing?
They should have just been like, well, it's too big of a coincidence. I guess this baby really is meant for you after all. No, but he comes in the room, he kidnaps the child, and long story short, it's actually not that long of a story, it's just he's backing away, and short story short, he shoots and kills Nandy.
Yeah. Well, so Inara does try to strangle him from behind, and
or slit his throat. She has
a knife to him.
Yeah, knife to his throat.
Which, of course, does not work in her favor. And yeah, so then like he kind of escapes and shoots Nandy.
Right. In the reverse order of that.
Well, I meant he escapes Inara's like knife hold.
Oh yeah. And then he escapes on his little like cruiser thing.
Yeah, beep beep.
Seems like the rest of his guys are still fighting. I mean, they're getting owned, but
he kind of leaves them behind.
Seems like they're still fighting,
or tries to.
But when Mal finds out that Nandy has been killed,
he goes all John Wick on Rance.
He steals a horse and goes after him. And yeah, basically just John Wicks him. Earlier in the episode, Rance was introducing a super fancy gun that he owned. And as soon as he introduces it, like if you've engaged with fiction on any like level in a modern, like if you've engaged with modern fiction on any level, the moment he introduces this gun, you're like, all right, so it's gonna like that's gonna be his undoing, isn't it? Because he's introducing his like a super high tech, like super expensive, state of the art, cutting edge piece of equipment, and lo and behold, it fails. It runs out of battery. He's trying to shoot Mal,
and then Mal is like, "I should kill you, but I won't." And he takes him back to the house where the tides have turned. The tides have turned, and all of Rance's remaining men, the like 5 of them, are lined up, and they tie up Rance, and Nandy comes out. Not Nandy, sorry. Pedaline comes out and is like, "Hey, son, meet your dad." Then she pulls out a gun and shoots him. She's like, "Say goodbye to your dad."
Yeah, just executes him right then and there.
Mal's like, "What did you do? We weren't going to kill him." Nah, that doesn't actually happen. They're on private property anyway.
They don't actually dwell on this very much, even though it is sort of just a brutal execution.
Yeah, they all kind of just look at it and go, huh.
Not that Rance wasn't a brutal guy himself, but it's just like one of the very, very few things that I like that makes me raise an eyebrow in fiction is like a sort of cathartic portrayal of revenge. Because it just seems wrong on so many levels. I don't know. And this wasn't really that, but it was kind of approaching it. In fact, I think probably tonally in the way it's depicted, it's not really, the episode doesn't really lean one way or another on whether what Pedaline does is, good here.
No, and it doesn't need to, I think.
Yeah, especially because there's only like 3 minutes left in the episode.
Yeah, and we have a funeral to get to.
Right. Oh, did you have something else to say about
Nope.
this entire sequence?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, we head back to the place where Mal had his duel in Shindig.
Yeah, we made this joke reference earlier.
Did we say it on recording or off? I can't remember.
We said it on recording.
Yeah. Looks like the exact same grove. Probably is. They bury the dead, including Nandy.
They one of the ladies sings Amazing Grace.
A song that survived into the 2500s, I see.
And
then
they leave.
They leave. Inara confronts Mal on Serenity, and she gives the quote that we said before, saying that, like, obviously referencing Nandy, saying that, like, when you have a place like this and you kind of grew it up by the strength of your own hands, you get attached to it, you get comfortable in it, you don't want to leave. It becomes like, family and home to you. Scratch the comfortable part, because then she says, like, you get too comfortable and complacent, and that's why I'm leaving.
Yeah, because Mal was clearly about to say, like, I have feelings for you,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to be, because Inara is leaving.
Yeah. And it's actually another reason why this is kind of it's a little sad. It kind of, like I said before, tugs on the heartstrings, is like, you get the idea that Inara, she was purposely kind of in this like limbo state with regard to her relationship with Mal, right? Is like, you described before as like a will they, won't they relationship. And she was kind of, keeping it in that limbo, afraid of like what the answer would be.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the answer was not what she wanted it to be.
Well, I think Mal was going to be all for it. It's kind of what it seemed like he was going to say there.
Mm-hmm. I think just after what happened with Nandy, both her sleeping with Mal and then subsequently dying, like, yeah, I think after that there's probably no going back to this sort of potential relationship that they could have had.
And, yeah. That's the end of the episode. It ends on that bombshell. It ends right on that bombshell.
Yep. And remember, this episode wasn't aired when the series first originally aired, so...
This is, of the three that weren't aired, the one you would miss the most. You would miss the most, like, context and information.
Yeah, I think especially for Serenity. I mean, obviously you can just say, like, well, Serenity is a movie, it takes place later, there was stuff that wasn't depicted on screen, so, okay, Inara is not part of the team anymore, whatever. But it was actually part of the show that did end up getting skipped, if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yes. I think.
I just explained it in, like, a very roundabout way, but I think it made sense. Made more sense than the bonus features I watched this week, which we're going to get to in a minute. I guess if you don't have anything else to say about the episode at hand.
I don't have anything else to say.
I don't either, I guess.
I already talked about Inara's statement about putting down roots and not wanting to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we did hit everything. Feels kind of weird, but yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah, so you said you watched some bonus features?
Yep, they were, as usual, not very exciting. The first of the two that I watched was this little mini documentary thing called Serenity, the 10th Character. As we've described, without even having watched this mini documentary, Serenity does feel like the 10th character on the show, and it's sort of the creators of the show, cast and crew, felt the same way. I just took random notes here, so I'll just go through them point by point. It starts with like all the actors describing Serenity and kind of what they like about it and what it meant to them as they were filming. It was the thing that kept them together. One of them, I can't remember if it was Nathan Fillion or Joss Whedon, describes Mal's first viewing of Serenity as a love story. Right. Actually, maybe tying it back to Heart of Gold. Maybe that's, Mal is like, would never work out with Inara or something like that because Mal is in love with Serenity. Or even tying it back to how socially inept both Mal and Inara are. It's like Mal displays more from a narrative standpoint, from the standpoint of like the sort of visual storytelling of the show. Mal displays a lot more outward affection towards a machine than to Inara.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we said in Ghost Story, how that was kind of like the Serenity episode. When we talked about how every character kind of gets their episode, and then not
out of gas.
Yes, out of gas. Was like the Serenity episode, and in that episode, like you can see that Mal is like gonna die with the ship. He's like refusing to leave Serenity, to their hands.
Yeah, speaking of Serenity, I just realized we kind of entirely skipped the entire sequence with Kaylee and Wash in the episode.
We did.
Oh well. They basically have their own little misadventure on Serenity, trapping and evading some guys who were after them with guns.
Yeah. Yeah, because, again, they're going to fly Serenity over and cause some issues for everyone, but surprise, surprise, once they get onto the ship, they're ambushed by some of Rance's men.
Yep. Well, anyway, just moving on here in this documentary thing. It's interesting. I should have written the guy's name down as usual. For some reason, in the moment, I don't ever think that I should write the person's name down. But one of the lead designers of Serenity, in fact, I think the lead designer, who I think was his role on the show officially is production designer, so which makes sense. He and Joss Whedon were talking about how the ship has a hot to cold color scheme when you go from front to back. Not only did they have the layout of the ship right where they obviously design like where the cargo bay is, where the mess hall is, where everything is. So they had the entire floor plans, the entire build of it, so to speak. But then within that, they gave it sort of a color scheme that reflected where all the characters were in the ship. So, like, for example, according to Joss Whedon, I don't even know what he really means by this. He says, like, Kaylee is the character who sort of brings the warm colors to the ensemble, right? She's related to sort of the darker color, like, reds, yellows, whatever. So her room is the engine room, which is in the back of the ship. So, when you're in the engine room, you have sort of this warm, lighting diffuse throughout the shot, throughout the scene, warming the scene type thing. So, and that's similarly, that's for the rest of the crew too. Wash, I guess, is on the other side of that spectrum because his place to be is the bridge, which is the exact opposite. And while they were describing this, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, if you guys actually did this, it doesn't come through visually on screen. But then when he put it together with the engine room and the bridge, I was like, oh my god, it does. It does come through.
Oh my god, it's real.
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. Okay, no.
Thank you very much for that reference. It wasn't even in that movie. That line is not in that movie. They use it in the trailer, and then they didn't put it in the movie.
Yeah, back when trailers were a unique experience and not just like the climax of the movie in the trailer. Anyway, That's not actually true, but anyway, it's funny to think it is, though. So yeah, they came up with this hot to cold color scheme thing, which is pretty cool, I guess. Alan Tudyk talks a little bit about his role on Serenity, which is actually interesting. I didn't think of this until he said it, but like, Wash's role is very interesting in that the captain of Serenity doesn't know how to fly Serenity. Instead, Wash does. So another one of those moments where it's like, oh God, he's right. Wow, Mal does not know how to fly Serenity. It's his and that really got the gears turning. Is like, it's Mal's ship. He makes it very clear to everyone that this is his ship. But what does he do on it? He just orders people around. You know,
he pays the rent.
Yeah, exactly.
He pays the rent.
It's like, without his crew, he couldn't even get it off the ground. And in fact, actually, now that, oh my God, it's all coming together. In Out of Gas, that is actually, the gist. I didn't even realize, but that is the entire gist of the scene where he meets Kaylee. Is like, without these people, Serenity can't even take off. He can't do anything with it.
So what we're saying is Mal is utterly useless.
He's the glue. He's the one who brought them all together. He's the vacuum cleaner who sucked up the little, I don't know, dust bunnies of their lives and brought them all together into a larger dust-filled sack.
What I'm hearing is he's totally useless. That's what I got out of that statement.
Well, you know what? Here I am on the Wikipedia page for Heart of Gold. The thumbnail that they chose is Mal shoving a gun in Rance Burgess's face and holding his collar at the same time. Seems pretty useful to me. He got the baby back. He paid his dues just by doing that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
Anyway, continuing on the documentary, it was about 10 minutes long, so not super short like the other stupid special features they added, which are only like 2 minutes, but are appreciated nonetheless. Alan Tudyk had 3 magic switches. He calls them 3 magic switches. Whenever he would be asked to do something, whenever Wash would be asked to do something with Serenity, he would flip these 3 so-called magic switches that were above his head and let the magic unfold. They didn't actually do anything, obviously. It was just a set, but yeah. You get a scene you get a shot in the documentary of the cargo bay set, and it's damn large. Like, that thing is massive. And then you learn the most interesting thing, I think, from the documentary is that they built the entire ship, so it's 190 feet, Serenity, and they built that entire length across 2 sets. So you have the upper decks and the lower decks built as 2 separate sets, but each within themselves contiguous. Mm-hmm. So the thing's interior was basically built. You could walk from one, so you could, obviously, like I said before, the upper floor and the lower floor were separate, so you can't change floors, but you could actually walk from one end to the other.
Yeah, I actually seem to remember learning that at some point, although I don't remember when.
I believe that was stated a little bit less explicitly in the longer behind-the-scenes feature that I watched early on in this season. I'm pretty sure it was stated there, or maybe you just read it online, I don't know. Anyway, we get more into the special effects, and Zoic Effects Studio, a company that worked on creating the CG and effects for Firefly the show and for Serenity the ship specifically. The design of the ship was meant to evoke both a bird and a firefly, the animal, the bug. Which it does, yeah. I mean, it's not something that you consciously notice, but it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like you might have not noticed it, but your brain did type thing, where it's like, when Serenity lands, it kind of folds its sides in like bird wings. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it has that sort of neck sticking out. So, yeah, I saw it. It was also supposed to, the reason, I guess, why both the show is called Firefly and the ship is like a Firefly class cruiser, and it was based its design off of Fireflies because, according to Joss Whedon, and actually I think it was someone else other than Joss Whedon who said this. It was one of the special effects people, one of the lead special effects guys they were talking to, was like, well, Mal and his crew are like little bugs that annoy the Alliance, so...
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
The final thing that I thought was interesting, or that I have a note for here, is that they used something called VTOL to get the ship to take off, which stands for...
vertical takeoff and landing, right?
Yep, you got it. Bingo. I don't know why I said that so sarcastically, but...
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's 3:01 in the afternoon and tensions are running high on Trust Your Doctor, or Inevitable.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so they used vertical takeoff and landing, which they took from the military. I didn't really understand what it was. They explained what it was, but I didn't really understand it.
It's just... We have planes now that can do that. The V-22 Osprey basically can take off vertically and land vertically, but can also take off or land in a traditional runway configuration.
Yeah.
This means like it can do both.
I guess it just means like it doesn't have to drive before it takes off. It can just go straight up like a helicopter or something.
Yeah.
Damn. It's pretty neat.
Like the Osprey is basically two big giant freaking propellers that can rotate horizontal or vertical, so you can take off either way.
And yeah, that was that. I also watched another special feature thing, which was Alan Tudyk's audition. This one was only like a minute long. So basically, it starts off with this a card explaining what it is. So the actors did they all sent their audition tapes for the roles that they were auditioning for, and Alan Tudyk, I guess, was nice enough to allow his to be included on the DVD/Blu-ray release. And it's basically just him on a blank white background wall thing doing that little scene with the dinosaurs from the first episode.
Yeah, nice. You can, it's fun to watch audition tapes. You can see Hugh Laurie's audition tape for House out on the internet because they released that on one of the House DVDs too, and that's also pretty interesting to watch.
Huh.
It's interesting to see the actors, like, what the actors have to do to get a role,
Yeah. Whether that's, performing a scene with imaginary toy dinosaurs in your hands because he didn't actually have the toys, he was just pretending, or anything else.
That or anything else sounded very ominous. Very ominous.
Oops.
Oops.
Well, that was that.
Well, I guess that's it for the episode then. Let me crack open the emails so that I have them ready for after we do America's 10 Actors.
Do we want to describe the Western features in more detail, or do we already do that enough, you think?
I guess we can explain them a little more in depth, although I've already made my Once Upon a Time in the West and Magnificent Seven references, because like I said, they basically just lifted the entire plot of this episode straight out of Western movies. And there's, as Keon has already pointed out, there's barely any actual like sci-fi tech in this episode.
Right. Yeah, it's a very common Western thing to, like, a group, either a group of vigilante, people, or a sheriff, one of the two, is enlisted to protect sort of a settlement from either bandits or like, a sort of a corrupt official in charge of a town or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that many Western movies, but even the random like one-off ones I have watched are like kind of along those lines. But yeah, that's
Yeah, well, I guess we could do America's
Yep.
10 Actors then. So I looked up Melinda Clarke, who plays Nandy. She's been around. The Vampire Diaries, Gotham, a TV movie called CSI Immortality.
damn.
Oh, it's the finale to CSI. Interesting. Anyway, Dallas, Nikita, Vegas, Entourage, the original CSI, so it makes sense that she was in the finale movie, I suppose. Ghost Whisper. She was in an episode of Ghost Whisperer. Okay, neat. King of the Hill, Chuck, the OC, the TV series for Tremors, Star Trek Enterprise, The Pretender, and Days of Our Lives. She actually got her start on Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, quite a career. Well, we also had Tracy Ryan playing Pedaline. Looks like she also has quite a career. She's been in the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew TV series from the 90s. Mega Man Legends and Mega Man Legends 2. What else here? Ned's Newt. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. Little Bear, Kindergarten Thinking Adventures. Oh, that's the video game. Well, that's the video game of Little Bear. She was also in the other things of Little Bear. I don't know what Little Bear is, but she was in the entire franchise, it looks like.
Okay.
Flying Rhino
Good to
Junior
know.
High. I don't know what that is either, but it sounds cool. Timothy Goes to School. Dark Angel. So not Angel, but Dark Angel. I don't know if that has any relationship with Joss Whedon's Angel, but I don't think so.
Probably not.
Let's see. Young Drunk Punk. And her most recent role was in Tall Boys, 2019. Doesn't seem like she really acts anymore. Ever since like 2006, she's had one role every like 5 years. Let me see if she does anything else that IMDb would deem noteworthy. Nope, she doesn't have any other credits besides acting.
Oh, well, all right then.
According to her bio here, though, she's recently turned her talents to writing.
Oh.
Yeah, too bad
Suppose that's
IMDb
neat.
just drops that information without actually giving her any writing credits.
Yeah, without explaining. Oh, well, I looked up Frederick Lenny, unclear, who plays Rance. He's in Dexter, New Blood, the continuation series. He was in the movie The Eyes of Tammy Faye, a movie I actually saw about a month ago, interestingly.
Damn.
He was in the Right Stuff TV series. He's a really like prolific acting career. Yellowstone, Westworld, Homeland, The Blacklist, Criminal Minds, Chicago Fire, Blue Bloods, Law and Order SVU, the movie Zero Dark 30, Lost, CSI, Lie to Me, The Mentalist, Ghost Whisperer, Bones, Medium, CSI, New York, NCIS, JAG, The X-Files, a TV movie called Inferno. He was in Men in Black, Chicago Hope from 1997, NYPD Blue, ER, Babylon 5,
God dang. Just list what he hasn't been in. That'd be
Dallas. He was in the TV series How the West Was Won, and I've reached the end of his acting credits there.
All right, well, we have a similarly, actually not similarly, but reaching as prolific a figure in Kimberly McCulloch, who played, shoot, what was it? Why am I blanking on her name now? Sherry. Yeah. She's both an actor and a director, it looks like, and producer. So some of her acting credits: Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, Beauty and the Beast, the TV series from 1987. I don't know if that has anything to do with the Disney one. What else? Anything else that looks notable? Once and Again. I think that's a soap opera. I don't know. Could be completely wrong about that. It's a wild guess. ER, All My Children, Legally Blonde, CSI, The Stones, Joan of Arcadia, General Hospital, and General Hospital again. I guess is a no, it has the same role. She's credited 2 different times for it. Weirdly enough, according to IMDb here, she's actually been acting since she was 7 months old. Since she first appeared in a diaper commercial.
Good to know? Question mark?
Yeah, that's that, I guess.
Well, I guess we have an email from Steven. Trash, garbage, rubbish, dross. Hey guys, it's been 11 years since I've watched the Firefly episode Trash, so I barely remember any of it, but I feel confident it would have been significantly better had it used music by the band Garbage. You mentioned Breaking Bad. Since I have good taste, I wanted to assure you that Breaking Bad is perhaps the most well-written show I've ever watched. Some have argued that its spin-off Better Call Saul is better, and I don't argue much against that because it is just so superb as both a spin-off and a prequel without feeling so over-prequel-y. Both shows are so good that I fully intend to rewatch all of them in full sometime in the future. You should watch Breaking Bad for the next season of Inevitable. Chemistry is part of the show, and with that being a science and the show being a fiction, it counts as sci-fi, right? Sent from Yahoo Mail for iPhone. And then I proceeded to text Steven after this. I texted Steven, well, Steven woke up today and decided to start an argument on Inevitable. Because those true decorative vegetable longtime fans will remember that we had an extensive many-week discussion on what is sci-fi back on Zenith, the Blake 7
Check that
podcast.
out. That was like 3 years ago. I don't even remember the content of the discussion.
There was a lot of discussion on whether or not like it being a genre was actually an accurate way to categorize things and like how do you define what is sci-fi and what isn't?
Yeah, I mean I remember the general gist of it, but I don't remember like anything beyond that.
You don't remember the exact arguments we made. It's okay.
Yeah, honestly, Breaking Bad, like I'll probably never watch it just like because of the popularity. I'm too much of a hipster at heart. Even if I watched it and liked it, I probably wouldn't admit it. I liked it. I probably wouldn't admit it. I thought it was good.
Nice. Well, that's the end of the episode for me.
Yeah, same here.
So if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decadentvegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the end of Firefly. Next week is the final regular episode of Firefly. Then the week after, we're going to watch Serenity, and then we're done. Then we're done. So get your thoughts in for Firefly soon. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on any other podcasting platform at Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at DYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. Next time, we're going to be finishing up the TV run of Firefly with Objects in Space. But until then, the end.